My name is Dan Low. In this video, I'm going to show you how Python pass parameters to a function, or you can say whether Python is called by reference or called by value. So we're gonna find it out. So what are called by reference or called by value? In computer science, called by value and called by reference are hard exam questions. That means if you're going to study computer science in college, and be prepared that your test questions may be this type of questions, and they refer to the way the arguments, or you can say parameters, are passed to from a function to another. Okay, so basically a function may receive some values from the caller. Okay, so for call by value, we'll pass values to a function. So the callee is the one being called, cannot change the value. You only got a value and manipulate the values, cannot change the value. Whereas the call by reference will pass the references to a function. The reference is simply just the address of objects, or you can say address in the memory location. And both the caller and callee can change the value because you got the reference. Okay, then you can change the content uh, at the location indicated by the reference or address. And this side effect is needed sometimes if the caller wants to get the updated values without needing extra space. For example, the caller wants to pass an array over the callee. So think about that. There are gonna be a lot of values in a array. So if you don't pass a reference, you're gonna pass a lot of values that occupy space in memory. Is not very efficient. Call by reference allow you to just pass the reference to an array, only one value, which is the address of the array, and then the callee will get a job done. So in Python, unfortunately, everything is objects, and we're gonna review all the objects and types in Python before we move forward. Okay, so first there are two types of objects. First, immutable objects. Immutable objects like the object that you can change the value or the content, like Boolean variable bool, the true or false. For example, integer like 123, like a floating point like 123.4, like a tuple, AEIOU is a tuple that's immutable, cannot change. Like a string, Python, a string, you cannot change that. Like frozen set, a set of 1 to 3 is frozen, so we cannot change the value, so it's immutable. And mutable objects in Python include the following: list, like 1, 2, integer, and a string. Set, 1, 2, and 8 is a set. Okay. Dictionary, the first name, then last and low. Okay. So these three, dictionary, set, and list, are mutable objects in Python. So with that concept in mind, let's see. We need some tool to get ID, to get the address of an object. ID will allow you to do that. And so you also have a type, a built-in function that show you the type, because Python you don't really need to specify type of a variable. Okay, and type allow you to print out the type of an object. Okay, and a name or the variable name is actually a handle to an object. So for example, here I have object, an integer 100, 234. It's an object. Okay, and we're gonna have name or variable name x. Okay, then the name to object, there's a classical binding. So we say the name is bound to this object. Okay, so let's take a look at the first thing, the call by value like. Okay, if you want to pass a value to a Python function, this is how you do that. Okay, so it's define my func, and then with the value or parameter, and then you increase the value by 1. Okay, then return value back to the caller. Okay, then in the main function, okay, you set x equal to 5. Okay, and then you call the function my function and pass in the x over it. Okay, and then y will receive the return value. Okay, So here's how that happened behind the scene. Okay, when you say x equal to 5 in Python memory, you create an object which is immutable integer object 5. Okay, and the x name x is bound to 5. Okay, after you do that, now when you call y equals myfunc sub x, so it has a name there, not bounding yet, and then the control transfer to the my function. Then the value, the first name is the value, will receive the object, immutable object, which is 5. So it point to there, bound to there. Then after that, the value got the value and create a new object, which is 6, which is also immutable, because this 5, this object is immutable, so you can't change its value. So you need to create another new object. So another new object with content 6 is created. Then the value, the name, will bound to this new object and then return back to the y. So y is now point to here. Okay, so that's how the call by value like mechanism um, behind the scene, in Python works. Okay, so how about the call by reference like in Python? So here we define the function with the argument reference or EF. Then we assume the reference, is a list, so we append 2, okay, to it. In the main function, you create a list with empty list, and then call myfunc x, okay, passing the list over it. So what happened behind the scene is you define, you in the Python memory you create an object of list of empty list, a list object with nothing in it. Okay, that's empty there, and then the x then bound to that. That's the first step. When you call the my function, okay, then the reference name is actually bound to here. Okay, bound to here. Then when you actually change the value, now change the value, you append it to that list, then the list is actually added to the same exact identical object right here. Okay, now that is how the call reference like in Python works. Okay, behind the scene. So I'm going to show you some Python program. Okay, in the Google Colab. Okay, so here, if you take a look at the first one, pass value immutable over. Okay, so I define the function. Okay, define the function. Say my function with the value argument. Okay, and I put a print statement here. Print address of the value before assignment, and put ID sub value that will print the address of value. Okay, then after the second statement, the value equal to value plus 1, and then print address again. Okay, and then return the value back to the caller. In the main function, assign x equal to 5 to begin with, an integer object, and then I print the address of x. Okay, print it down. Now I call the function, my function, by passing the x object over it, and then y will return its value back. After that, I print the address of y, id y. So if I run this program, let's analyze the program a little bit. So now you can see that the address of x when I create the object, okay, is 109146, 24. So we're just looking at the last 4 digit, 4624, okay, x. So when I call the function, okay, by passing the x object to it, then the value actually point to the same value. You can see that the address of the value is exactly the same, 4626. Okay, that's before the assignment statement. After the assignment statement, hey, it changed. The value, bound to another one with the 4656. And then when you return the value back to the coder, and y got the handle exactly the same as the new object created. So that's a call by value like mechanism. Now let's take a look at the other one, call by reference. Okay, so again I define function my func ref. Okay, in the ref I do the same thing. I put in the address before and after. Okay, so in between I call ref that append to. Okay, and in the main function, I first created an empty list. Okay, And with this, and I create address of x. Then after that, I call my function x. Okay. Then after that, I print the address of y. Okay. Then after that, I print x content and y content out. So if I run it, so here's what you can see. So in the main function x, it has the address 188.1.8.0.0. Okay. Then in the function before assignment, you can see that the address is exactly the same. Okay. Then after the assignment, the append function, it still remain the same. And now we return the object back to the caller, and y got exactly the same object. Okay. And then the content of x obviously the same too. And content of y obviously the same too. So how many objects got created? Only one in this scenario. But in the call by value like mechanism, we have two objects created. One per value created. So that's all I have about this. If you have a question, please give a comment, and if you like it, subscribe it, thumb up. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.